So I have gotten the hollow construction out of the pickle and put it in baking soda and water to neutralize, and then I've cleaned it. And now I'm back in the studio and I need to get rid of the side frame. So again, most of the time the order for hollow construction would be to create the frame in entirety, almost like a cookie cutter, then put it on one side, then solder it on the other side. So right now what we need to do is we need to get all of these edges off. So I've already cut off one edge and now I need to cut off the other edges. And obviously these little end caps are going to be a little bit tricky, so just wanted to show you what this looks like. It's same as sawing. I'm kind of working around the end cap right now because I'm right-handed and it's in an awkward location. I'm going to try to get that off after I get the rest of the metal off. You see that my fingers are across the form so that I don't cut myself. I need to concentrate on going straight up and down. Get those fingers out of the way, turn the corner, and this is pretty strong because it's soldered to the base, but remember that those frames are just copper and they've just been heated all the way past annealing, so it's still really soft. So you've got to make sure that you have even pressure with the fingers that are holding it down. So now I'm going into that end cap. So I am kind of going on a just barely of an angle with my saw frame. I'm going nice and slow because I don't want to bend it. And there is the end cap of that one and that. Now let me see if I can get back in here on the end cap. And there is that little end cap, it's gone. So sometimes when you're right-handed, so this end cap is kind of in the opposite location I need it to be, but sometimes when you're right-handed you might go and cut through the whole thing, or left-handed you'll do it the same way. You'll go through and you'll cut the whole thing, and then you'll have to work your way back to get maybe the details. See, I'm using my bench pen. I'm turning it so that most of this material is on the wood. Important that you keep your saw frame going up and down because you don't want to accidentally bite into the actual form. Now, I don't know if I probably can't get my fingers in on this angle. So, ooh, what about this one? Could do that. Let's get this end cap off. Looks good. You can see I'm just getting as much of it off with my saw frame as I can. Here I can see that I barely kind of bent the top of the sheet metal, and so I'm just going to kind of pull that back and just make sure it's nice and straight again. If you're going to use anything to do that with, I'm using my ruler. Just make sure that you're never using your file, because remember the file is really brittle, so it's not something for prying. So that's probably when I put it on its side to get the end cap off. I just barely dented it, but it's looking good. So there's that side, and then you can see this side is already ready. So now I need to file these ends. Actually, I'm not going to. And this is kind of the time where you can make a decision. If you need to file the ends, you can, but it makes it really susceptible for that solder to flow. So I'm not going to file the ends. I'm just going to leave them with the tiniest little edge, and that'll make it nice and safe. And I do need to get the bottom of it really flat. So I have a single cut file, and this piece is really pretty small, and so this is a great tool to use this for. So remember that a file works on the push, and so if you just put that straight down, it would work then pulling the piece back towards you. If I'm working with it flat, I'm constantly turning it, pushing down with even pressure. My dog Bear doesn't like this sound. She has her head wedged directly into my chair right now. So besides the fact of making sure that the lighting is good so you can see this and everything, I also have a dog with her head wedged in my little wheels. I don't know why she finds comfort in that, but it's where she is. I have a lot that I'm concentrating on right now. I'm showing you how all of this works so that you can kind of see about what the time period takes. So I'm keeping that file really nice and flat. It's looking really good. You want it all to be shiny and the exact same thickness. I can also use some sandpaper. We have a sanding board in the studio. I would highly suggest doing that. Don't tape sandpaper to your desk because that tape residue just spreads. So you can always sand like that. And that's looking pretty good. Almost ready to solder. So I'm going to go just a little bit more with the file and sandpaper. And then this is the metal that I was using. So I'm going to cut off a piece of metal that is just the right size again for that. Hopefully I've got one. Yeah. And that'll go on the other side. Now, there is a moment of deciding where is my vent hole going to go. You need a vent whenever you're doing hollow construction. One, so that pickle can escape, but two, so that air can escape. So if I created this and I soldered it together all as a solid form, I could do that once, but if I introduce it back to heat, it will explode. And it does explode, basically. It just goes in a lot of parts. And so it is important to have a vent, but especially if you're going to use the pickle, you need a vent, because if the tiniest bit of pickle gets in there and doesn't get out with the baking soda and water, it ends up eating away at the seam over years. And so it'll happen like once somebody owns your piece and it's this greenish stuff that just keeps coming out of the piece, which you don't want to happen. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drill holes into the sides so that I can make this like maybe a chain or a loop or something that goes through. So I got to think that through before I make that decision. So while I'm thinking about that, I'm going to finish up the filing, get it nice and flat so that then I can solder.